I think about this a lot, and I've said this on my YouTube videos as well, because I think it is important to set expectations. 99.99999% of people who watch my stuff, you will never ever reach my level at this age. What I've accomplished in my life, I don't believe is necessarily aspirational, because I do believe you have to have a certain degree of a mental illness to push this.
So I want to make a video for everyone who's into finance and the business gurus of YouTube, like guys like Iman Gadzhi, like Sebastian Georgiou, like I, for a long time, thought that their advice was going to help me and was going to actually be impactful. Not only do the things that they advise you on work, but also some kind of hidden secret aspect of it that I don't think it's much talked about at all. To give you some context, I work in the space industry. I've been on both sides, honestly. I've been like depressed, not wanting to get out of bed, and I now work with very high-level people. Having said that, I don't know if space is still my passion, but I'm still working on it. Anyway, when these gurus tell you, for example, you should remove all external stimulation like Netflix, porn, all junk food, I think that's great advice. Like, I definitely think that a lot of things are hindering your ability to work. They're hindering your focus. They're hindering your thoughts even. I don't think the tips that these guys give you are going to get you far away, because you may think that it's just by removing things that you actually focus, but it's not. If you actually try it, you can remove things, but then you'll sit there and you're going to daydream and you're going to think about your ex and you're going to look on WhatsApp and then you're going to start working and then you'll think about something else that you should have for food. And it's a never-ending cycle of procrastination because you're fighting against yourself. And so if you keep that level of productivity, you'll never reach the levels of Iman. You'll never reach the levels of Luke Belmar or Sebastian Georgiou or these guys or Hamza, because when they work in a much more productive way. And even Jordan Peterson keeps saying, like, if you keep being like this kind of procrastinated, lazy guy, by age like 25 or 26, you cannot even physically get to the level of someone who has always had this like working hustle mentality, like really being attractive and getting energy from work. You cannot compete with that. And so even in your whole life, and maybe that's already you, maybe you already are way too past to get to the point where these guys are at. But it doesn't matter, because you can still get to a very high level. So my point here is, if you keep working the way you work, even if you remove all distractions, you're not going to go much farther. So how do you actually solve this? How do you actually cultivate this productive mindset? For me, the most fundamental one, and the one that I noticed the most change, has been the image you hold of yourself. The image you hold of yourself is super important, because if you're someone who sees themselves as lazy, as unproductive, if your goal throughout the day is to just not having to work and just to be numb, then you're going to find it very, very difficult to work, because every action that you take is counterproductive to the goal that you have, which is to be numb and lazy and passive. And so if you actually want to be someone who has a very high work ethic and someone who's actually really productive, then what you need to do is you need to change this self-image. If you want to think about it in terms of spirituality, because like this spiritual approaching authenticity, then you can think about it as you're kind of like possessed by this like lazy entity that just wants you to rot and die. I know this is already graphic, but it really is about it. And so what you want to do is you want to actually start telling yourself that you're actually an extremely productive person. I like to tell myself that I'm the relentless executor, and then any action that I do that's conductive to that self-image is just reinforcing that belief. So every action that I do is actually giving me more energy. And that's such a fundamental point, because as I said, like, without that image, then you'll just always fight against yourself. So you want to be on your own team, right? And so I think that's such a tip that nobody ever talks about, and it's going to completely transform your productivity. If you like this kind of content, subscribe, because I'll be making more in the future. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.